Thank you, Chairwoman, for allowing me to wave on to your committee.
Save the best for last.
Well, you're also my neighbor, so, anyway, my home state is Georgia, and I can pronounce your name, Mr. Ledette. And what's unique about Georgia is we have a right-to-work law, which many states have across the country. And all that simply means is that you don't have to pay union dues to keep your job. And Georgia has been the best state to do business, been named the best state to do business in over 10 years in a row. And in our economy, we have great leadership, and our economy is growing. We just recently finished 2 nuclear power plants, which now is the largest clean energy power plant structure with 4 units in the country. And it was union, but the problem is we couldn't get the workers. And when I talked to the head of the Building and Trades Union, he said that they are having a hard time recruiting people to join the union. And I have had 40 years of experience starting and operating a construction business. The workforce is a new modern workforce. Very entrepreneurial. When I started out, we'd call the union hall. We self-performed a lot of our work, but now these union members all own the concrete companies, the roofing companies, the framing companies, and steel erection companies, and we're subcontracting almost 90% of our work. And I am all too familiar with the heavy-handed top-down regulations that this government is imposing on us, which is why we never did any federal government work. It was a different animal altogether. And this was another example of the Biden administration using taxpayer dollars to push their pro-union agenda. It bestows favors on political allies and intervene in employee relations at private firms. And I've heard the frustration of other construction companies in our district. ACC Construction Company is a locally owned and operated company out of Augusta, Georgia, and it's worked on many and has a stellar reputation working on many federally contracted construction projects. And I share their concern that this rule will drive up costs, reduce competition, and result in jobs taking much longer than they should. Mr. Brubeck, my understanding is to be a signatory to a project labor agreement, a contractor must negotiate with a union. Is that correct?
Yeah, under the FAR Council rule, you have to have 1 labor union or more to execute the project labor agreement. And what's happening is that our understanding is contractors are going to unions and saying, would you be willing to negotiate a PLA with me? They have to meet these terms that are outlined in the PLA rule, but also other terms that the unions suggest. And they're having either a hard time finding agreement with the unions, or the unions are slow walking that negotiation or giving better terms to other contractors. So they're pre-selecting who can win the contract or not. And that's really problematic.
There's got to be some case law somewhere, because this is
we filed a lawsuit,
Yeah.
which we haven't really talked much about today, but
Right.
it's in Florida.
Yeah.
It's before the judge, and we're hoping for an outcome that is get out the merits of the case, unlike the case earlier discussed, the AGC case, which was dismissed on basically technicalities.
right. Tell me what you've heard about how unions are negotiating in circumstances where their participation is required for a contractor to complete the project.
We've heard varying stories. Some have been attempting to cooperate and trying to understand the needs of the contractor. Other unions have not been participating in good faith at all, and they've been slowing down negotiations. They've been, effectively making sure that contractor who's not already a signatory to the union cannot proceed with the contract award or even a contract bid, which is required to have an executed PLA submitted with it. So effectively, they're acting as a pre-qualifier for the federal government. This is not how the Competition and Contracting Act works. We need full and open competition. We don't need middlemen in this, and that's what our litigation is all about.
Yeah, and what I recommended to the head of the Building and Trades Union is they need to work on recruitment and provide a product and then figure out how to sell that product rather than these heavy-handed techniques that they're using. And it's very concerning that the Biden administration provided unions all of this leverage at the negotiating table and left contractors no choices but to cave to union demands. It's directly contrary to America's free market. And of course, we're seeing it in every area of the country. We have a huge workforce problem. I have a contractor friend who does work all over the world, and he says the only place he has a problem getting labor is working on federal projects is in the United States. He said everywhere else in the world, because I asked him, where do you get these people? He says, no problem. Everywhere else in the world, the nation will allow me to use people to bring workmen in to get the job done. So, but anyway, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I yield back.